self-esteem, a person's sense of worth, is important for success. When children feel confident and secure, they are more likely to succeed in school and achieve personal goals. As they get older, they learn to confront problems and resist peer pressure. More important, having a positive self-image helps the child feel happy and capable of maintaining personal relationships. In today's first episode of Super Saturdays, Parenting and Beyond, we will try to understand how to build self-confidence in children, weighing carefully at the same time how much is too much praising or criticizing, and how to strike that right balance where parenting is the catalyst that propels the child towards gaining confidence and short of it becomes an inhibitor. We have with us today our expert to talk on this session, Ms. Sarah Sobeh, counseling psychologist from Fortis Hospital, Ludhiana. Welcome, Ms. Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me over.
Our guests and parents are very keen to hear you speak on the topic for today. How important, according to you, is to impart self-esteem in kids?
Okay. So when we talk about, imparting self-esteem in kids, it's important to determine that imparting self-esteem doesn't really have an end to it. I mean, it's a lifelong process. Certain times the parents may feel that, they're done imparting confidence on their kids, but that's not the end to it. I mean, of course, whenever you think that you've raised a confident child, your child may eventually have doubts, may eventually have insecurities. And that's when you need to when you need to resume the process. And it's a pretty integral responsibility. I mean, that's what parenting is all about. When you impart self-esteem in your kids, you help them find the true meaning of their life. You help them find the purpose of their life. When you let the children do things by themselves and for themselves, that's when they acquire the skills they need. That's how they become more competent. Children, through a very young age, since they're toddlers, they learn things through observation. So, whatever happens around them, that's exactly how they're learning things. If the parent shows love and respect to them, that's how they learn how to respect themselves. That is one of the key milestones in incorporating positive self-esteem in kids. If parents show affection towards the kids, if parents appreciate the kids, or if parent tells them what they're doing wrong in the right manner, that's how they feel safe to share what they're actually experiencing, how they're actually feeling. In a nutshell, parents' actions actually influence the way children feel about themselves and also determines their self-confidence, their self-esteem. Having said that, all the kids throughout the world, they all need their parents' unconditional love and support. Unconditional love and support, it actually means that the parent is loving them, is supporting them without any condition whatsoever. Many a times, what happens is that when our kid does something wrong, we label them. We tell them that you're a bad boy or that you're a bad girl. So, what happens is that when a parent says this to a child, the child sees himself or herself with those frames, with those glasses. So that's how, they start demeaning themselves. That's when their self-esteem takes the first blow. So instead of telling the kid that they're bad, it's important for the parents to rephrase it and make the child feel that they're not bad people, but perhaps one of the actions what they did was bad. So that they can differentiate between what they're doing and what they can do. When you tell the kids that what they did was probably something that hurt somebody else, that's when you give them the power to choose not to do that thing again. That's how you help build them confidence.
Praising children when they behave well makes them feel good and motivates them to continue the good behavior. A win-win situation for parents and children. But at the same time, we hear statements like praising spoils the child or spare the rod and spoil the child. So, what is your take on it?
It is actually very important for the parents to praise their children. Now, Most of the times when parents do praise their children, it's only on their successes. It's evident, it's natural, but it's also very important to appreciate them when they fail. For example, your kid has gone to play a game, maybe football or cricket, and their team has lost. So we can always encourage them by saying that, at least they did their best, by appreciating the efforts they made. And you're absolutely right in saying that sometimes some parents they feel that if you praise the child too much, they may get out of your hands. You may spoil them. But it's important to realize that as a child self-esteem grows, their sense of responsibility and competence grows as well. For example, if the child feels like, whatever they're doing is right, that's when they'd want to take the initiative to try something new, to take on more responsibilities. And hence, when there is this drive of taking new responsibilities, they try to learn new skills that would make them more competent. When a parent assigns chores to the child, now it doesn't have to be something big, something as tedious as, making your bed after you wake up. So when a child does that, and you may feel that, it's something very tedious to appreciate them on. But when you actually appreciate them, it makes them feel valued. Their self-confidence, their independence grows. And as their self-confidence and independence grow, their sense of security grows as well, which allows them to confront various challenges of the life, which would eventually come in their life. And there are so many studies that have shown that children who are confident are more able to stand up to their bullies. But what happens in the Indian parenting culture is that parents would take either of the two extreme approaches. If a child is having a problem, even if the problem is, of a bully, so the parents would either go and tackle the bully themselves, or they'd ask the child to take the high road and to let it be, and they'll ask the child to suffer in silence, unintentionally, indirectly, but it's usually one of the two options that parents take. But what is important while imparting healthy self esteem is that you inculcate the necessary tools, the necessary skills in the child, so that the child can, tackle their own problems, so that they can make the wise decisions. And ultimately, the way a parent interacts with the child influences the type of person they become in future. Nurturing parents who show love to their children increase their sense of worth, their sense of self, and it helps them, build a foundation of stronger relationship with them.
We are very keen to know how to set the limit while walking on the tightrope. How do we set the limits while ensuring that we are building confidence?
As important as it is for parents to generate confidence in kids, it is also very important for them to make sure that their sense of self or their confidence is healthy. Unhealthy sense of self, untamed confidence, they can lead to the child developing various issues such as inferiority complex, superman's complex. Later on, your child as they become an adolescent, They may lead into delinquent behavior, subsequently go into juvenile jails and all of that stuff. Maybe I'm going way ahead of myself, but that's actually what happens with untamed confidence, with untamed self-esteem. That's how problems keeps unfolding. So in order to limit the confidence of a child, I've designed this ABC model. So the ABC model is actually an acronym in which A stands for attention, B stands for behavior, and C stands for communication. So when I talk about attention, so it is important that the parent attends to the child, not just when the child needs them, but it has to be a process that is there throughout the parenting process. So it's very important for the parent to pay attention to the child. If the child is acting out, if the child is throwing tantrums, if the child is, quiet than usual, if the child is refusing to eat. So for all these behaviors to be observed, the parent needs to be attentive. The B part is behavior. So the parent's behavior has to be compassionate. The parents need to make sure that the child knows that they are available for the child. Only then can they come to the C part of the model, which is communication. When the parent is attentive towards the child, when the parent's behavior is compassionate and the parent is available towards the child, only then can the child feel safe to communicate with the parent. And when I talk about communication, it doesn't have to be a monologue, it doesn't have to be unidirectional. It has to be a dialogue, it has to be bi-directional. So if the child is coming and telling you what is wrong, you need to tell the child what is wrong as well. And you need to come out with an approach how to make the wrong right. For example, if your child is acting out, that's the time when you need to, sit with the child. You need to be the calmer, saner person and ask the child that what is wrong with you. I've observed you for the last 2, 3 days, for the last 1 week. You're throwing tantrums, you're getting agitated easily. Is there something that's bothering you? You can tell me, I'm available for you, I'm your parent. And then the child may come and tell you that there's this person in my class who bullies me, or maybe I don't know, there are this group of friends who don't let me play with them. That is the reason why I feel like I don't belong anywhere. And as a parent, it's important for you to impart that self-esteem, to make them feel comfortable, to let them know that, they are worthy human beings, worthy of love, worthy of affection, worthy of respect. But at the same time, you also have to tell them that there are certain behaviors that are inappropriate and that they shouldn't indulge in. So that is how a dialogue works. That yes, you are accepting towards them, towards their feelings, but at the same time, they need to change the behaviors that are disrespectful or harmful towards themselves or others. When we actually limit the confidence of a child, that's how we are letting them, or that's how we are helping them become rational, practical, secure, empathetic, and most importantly, responsible citizens.
A million times a day, parents set limits with their children. While prior generations associated discipline with punishment, today we equate discipline with setting limits or educating kids about how to get along in the world. What I understand that setting limits for younger children would be different from setting limits for the older ones, or how we discipline the older ones. So setting limits for different age groups is tricky. So according to you, what are the short techniques that we can inculcate in our daily routine or lifestyle?
One thing that is said across the world, that each child is different. All individuals are different. Each child has their own individuality, blah, blah, blah. And all those things are right. None of them is wrong. If you take two identical twins, you know, the cycle of their life, it started from one single cell, but then eventually when they're born and they grow up, They're two different beings. Their personality can be contrasting to a great degree. But even though each person is different, yet there is a generic component in each one of us. There's always certain traits that we share with a fellow human being. One of the traits is curiosity. Since our kids are a toddler, until they grow up, they're always curious, they're always inquisitive. And as they grow up, as they become kids, as they become children, as they become teenagers, the tendency to ask why, it becomes more rigid. If a toddler keeps asking you why this happens, why that happens, we'd say it's cute. But at the same time, if a teenager asks us, why are you not letting me go out? Why aren't you letting me meet my friends? That's when, we see them rebelling. But the thing is that we always dismiss their inquisition. We always dismiss their curiosity. As a parent, as an authoritative figure, we always dismiss logic while explaining things to them. We always want them to listen to them. We refuse to acknowledge that our kids, even though they are younger than us, even though they lack in experience than us, still they have brains and they use it. They use it involuntarily. The question why has been there since ages and in all ages. So few techniques that we can use in all the children revolves around answering that why, revolves around having the healthy conversation with children. For that, number one, you need to be available to communicate. You cannot be away from your child for, I don't know, good few hours, good few days, good few weeks, good few months, and then all of a sudden come and say that, I don't like this thing in you, you need to change this behavior. All right, you need to be available to talk with the child, to communicate with the child, to explain the child. For example, now that the mode has been shifted to online studies, most of the time, children are on their phones. Before, I think, good 5 years ago, whenever a child would be on the phone, the parents would always complain. ये तो सारा time phone पे ही लगा रहता है. He's never off their phone, फलाना ढिमकाना. But now it's a necessary. Now the kids have to be on the phone. That's how they are going to study. Perhaps now what parents are saying is that, why aren't you on your phone? Why aren't you using your laptop? Why aren't you studying? Right? But yet, when the child is there continuously on phone, I'm sure that as a parent, we all get a little worried, even if not about the cyber crime that's going around, but about their eyesight, about their health, about their posture and other problems that they may get. So it's important to communicate what your concerns are. And while you're communicating, it's important to have a dialogue, an open conversation in which you can discuss various options with the kids. You can tell the kid that, I'm worried for you. You've been spending a lot of time on your phone. You've been spending a lot of time over the internet. And I'd appreciate if you can find some other activity to distract yourself. And then you can come up with various options, such as what are the things they can do. You can advise them, or you can come up with options together, what else they can do to distract themselves, such as they may go for a walk. If they can't go out of the house, maybe they can go on the rooftops and have an evening stroll or something. They may do some household chores. Maybe you can start playing a family game, maybe some board games such as Ludo or cards or anything. And it's important to discuss the consequences with the kids. It's important to tell them why you're telling them to do something, or why you're asking them to discontinue whatever they're doing. For example, the child may feel that, मम्मी का तो काम ही होता है बोलते रहना, डैडी का तो काम ही होता है गुस्सा करते रहना. So when you're asking the child to change something in them, it's important to tell them why. What are the consequences if they keep going this way? For example, you can tell them about the various cyber crimes that's happening. That, somebody may come to you, ask for your bank details, or somebody may come and, come to you, reach to you and share vulgar pictures or links. And you may be innocent. We're not telling that you would be at fault, but you can't help click on that hyperlink. Sometimes you can tell how pictures are morphed, or how they are misleading advertisements. So all these things you need to tell the child. Even if not about cybercrime, you can tell them that how you're getting dark circles under your eyes, how your how the power of your glasses can increase or decrease, right? And when you're telling the child, don't expect the child to just listen to you. You need to allow them to express their emotions as well. Now, if somebody would come and tell you what to do, of course, you wouldn't like it, right? You like to do certain things your way. Now, if somebody is coming and telling you to do things differently, you would get agitated as well. Similarly, it's very natural for your child to rebel. It's very natural for your child to get agitated, irritated. So allow them to express whatever they're feeling. Don't dismiss their emotions, thinking that they're your slaves and they are obliged to do whatever you're asking them to do. And eventually, when they've let out their emotions, when they've spoken their heart out, sometimes parents they think कि चलो ठीक है मान लेते हैं इसकी बात. But that's not how things work. That's not how you inculcate healthy boundaries. You need to stand your ground. You need to be firm. Sometimes you have to show that tough love. Sometimes you have to practice that tough love. And whatever it is, it's important to be honest with your kids. Usually, what happens with parents is they're playing good cop, bad cop. For example, if the child has to go out, ultimately, naturally, they go to the mother first. They ask कि मम्मी मुझे अपने friends के साथ बाहर जाना है, so can I go? And the mother initially she'd say कि I don't know, मुझे नहीं पता. ठीक है, then she'd say कि शाम को पापा आएंगे, पापा से पूछ लेना. And eventually she'd say हाँ चल ठीक है चला जा. And as soon as the child would be stepping out, the father would ask कि where are you going? And then the father would refuse. So, there's this discrepancy in the communication that one parent is allowing me, the other parent is refusing me. So, who should I listen to? So, it's important to have an honest conversation. It's important for both the parents to play as one team and not as two different team members. Of course, you can have a different bond with your kids. Your kid can be closer to one parent than the other, but at the end, you have to stand your ground and be a team.
We have reached the tail end of our discussion, and at this very point, I would like to say disagreements are natural while setting limits, and parenting often involves facing challenging behavior. However, the upside to this challenging behavior is that pushing boundaries is an important part of growing up and becoming more independent. And one day, our kids will start thinking for themselves and make good choices. Our mission as parent, which we have already chosen to accept it, is to teach our kids how to test the limits respectfully and handling without being angry or defiant, and to know that ultimately we the parents are in charge. I would like to say thank you to our esteemed speaker, Ms. Sarah Sobeh, for an insight-packed session today. See you all next week with yet another topic, only on Super Saturdays, Parenting and Beyond. Thank you so much. Thank you.